And I'm going to also broadcast this on Facebook. So one moment while I am my own assistant, so I have to do everything, and I try to remember how to do it all and to talk at the same time. Sometimes I can do that. Post that on our group. And this will be posted also on YouTube in a couple days. It takes me a couple days to process everything and get that going. Oh, Sarah's here. Yes. All right. Welcome, Sarah. Saw you were singing this weekend. Yeah, fantastic. All right, and I'm gonna try to, let's see, I'm gonna put this link. Oh, 1 second. I need to put the link in the Facebook because people sometimes say, I can't get in. I need to do that. Whoopsie, that's not what I want. There we go. Okay. I think I got it all dialed in here. So welcome everybody to another Improvising Harpist interview with an improvising harpist, somebody who's out there doing it professionally and sharing with us their story and their tips and their secrets. And if you have questions as we're going along, please put them in the chat and I will ask Destiny to answer those questions for us. We're going to go for a little under an hour. We'll finish at the top of the hour. And all right, so I want to ask Destiny to tell us her story a little bit. How did you get started playing the harp?
Wow. But first, thank you for inviting me to be here. And I apologize if I'm talking a little slow. I'm getting a little delay, so it feels like I'm in a fishbowl. When I was 9 years old, my family had moved back to the United States from Asia. And we were living with my auntie in Compton, California. And I went to the den to go watch television. And it was an episode of I Love Lucy with Harpo Marx on there. And I was 9. I said, that's what I want to do when I grow up. But it wasn't available to me. And we're talking 1970. It was a lot happening that time. And my family couldn't afford it. So we flash forward 21 years later, and I start dating a man whose best friend was a harp builder in a little town called San Juan Batista. And I got my first folk harp at the age of 30. Couldn't read or write music, had sang my way through high school, but didn't know all the dynamics of a harp. But I got my first harp. I started studying with a woman in Long Beach, California by the name of Paula St. John. And then from Paula, I started studying with another woman by the name of Stephanie Kaufman, who's now Stephanie Kaufman Osborne, in a little town called Palos Verdes. And she has been my friend, mentor since that time. And this is my 31st year in May. Makes 31 years that I've been playing the harp.
Wow, that's so. When you first started at age 30,
Hmm.
you had to learn everything.
Yes.
You had to learn music, reading. You'd been singing
Yes.
up to that point.
Yes.
So, what was that like being an adult learner?
let me go to Stephanie. I remember I went to Stephanie and she says, how old are you? I said 30. And what do you want to do? I said, I want to learn how to play the harp. She said, look, I think Stephanie was 29 at the time. She says, I've been playing since I was about 12, 13. She said, I usually don't mess with the old ones. They don't stick. So she says, she gave me the spiel. It's 1992, and she says, harp lessons, 30 minutes, $15 for 30 minutes. And you got to pay the whole month in advance. And if you miss a lesson or if you're late, it don't roll over. So I said, okay. And she said, you need to come and we had a plan because I'm not really trying to mess with the old ones. So I said, I want to make a CD. I want to play with symphonies. I want to write my own music, yada. So she gave me the spiel again. And she said, we're going to start out with Twinkle, Twinkle. I said, I just told you I'm 30 years old. She said, I don't care how old you are. All my students start out with Twinkle, Twinkle, Hot Cross Buns, Yankee Doodle. And if you don't like it, you can bounce. We started with that.
Yep, my story is kind of similar. I started playing when I was 42, and I started with Twinkle and all the bass, and it was important. It was really important to get those basics in. So I applaud her for saying that. My very first teacher I met when I was 6, and she said, "You have to learn piano first."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I did. I was never very good, but I'm so grateful that I did. When I finally got around to learning the harp, I could read treble clef, bass clef. It had been a very long time. I've been away from music for a very long time, but I came back to it and started it. So my point with you and with me is it's never too late. My oldest student started when she was 82. Everybody around her said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm learning to play harp because I've always wanted to." And I said, "All right, let's do it." And she's still playing. She's 87 now, and she's still playing. And and I think everybody should have that opportunity if they want to do it. So you started playing Twinkle, and then gradually moved into more advanced music. And at that, were you working mostly on the page? You were reading.
Yes, and I will share with you my both teachers, well, at least Stephanie, started me out with the Sylvia Woods Teach Yourself to Play the Folk Harp. And then Stephanie moved me to the Lion and Healy Fun from the First. And primarily playing from the page, but also starting to embody the music so I could move off of the page.
Hmm. And so, can you talk about that process? Was that something you did with your teacher? Was that something you just started playing around with that on your own?
I started to do that on my own. And when she realized I was doing it, she encouraged it, but also encouraged me to continue to sight read. I want to say one of the things that she wanted to do is also to liberate me from the page so that I could also have engagement with a potential audience, if you will. I think she had a sense of me wanting to move into more stage work as well.
Hmm. So, when you started improvising, were you working mainly on you were working from songs that you knew
Yeah.
and creating from that.
Yeah. So what I will share with you is this. I started playing at the farmers markets and I had 3 songs that I felt comfortable with. And so farmers markets will go for 4 hours. So improvisation needed to kick in pretty quick.
Right? Because you got to play 3 songs for 4 hours and you got to make
Yes.
them last.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. That's well, there's nothing. I have played farmers markets too, where you've got 4 hours, and I will say that's one of the best ways to push yourself to come up with. You can't stop playing. You got to keep playing. You got to come up with something. You just keep going.
Yeah. And what I recognize is that for me, improvisation is very spiritual because it means I have to trust whatever comes up.
Mhm.
And when it be respectful, because some folks will say, "Don't do that. That's not what's written on the page." However, again, I go back to being a very spiritual experience for me. So I learned to trust the process. There's also the school of improvisation where you can create spontaneous compositions, which is another term that I heard the incredible bassist Esperanza Spalda recall it as spontaneous compositions. And it's such a trust factor that if you don't trust it or you're always trying to correct yourself in a moment, that you'll miss it and you'll start to edit or try to overthink why that was. And for me, that's not what improvisation is. It's really such a trust that what comes up is perfect just as it is.
Mhm. So for me, what I found was that the the twinkle and the technique and the technical aspects and all that stuff that I learned early on created the container
Mm-hmm.
for that um, for that inspiration to come in and fill that like a cup. Like I had to
Mm-hmm.
make the cup to make it because I will. Oh, sorry, this is a little embarrassing story, but the very first time I improvised, I just like bleh on the harp, and the people who were playing with me were like, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. It didn't fit with um, what we were doing, and I just didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I, back to square one, back to twinkle, back to, good hand position and good and a lot of theory. And then I could let that go and just be with the harp and just be with the music.
There's a lot of listening. What I will say is that you have to come to it as a child. I've chosen to come to it as a child where I'm listening to the language, specifically of jazz, but also listening to the language of music itself and hearing all of the other possibilities within it. Mm, I remember I was invited to play at a gallery for a gallery opening, and alongside me, who was invited, was a cellist who plays with one of the local chamber ensembles. It's pretty astute, pretty collar popping. And I remember for me, Pachelbel's Canon is really a beautiful piece that holds a lot of improvisation. So I'm playing with it. for me, there's so much music there that folks, if they're going, oh, well, you didn't do, that's Pachelbel. You can't, shut up. If you can't trust it, this brother said to me, how do you do that? And I said, do what? He said, how do you play and make all of that up with no sheet music? And I was says, how do you not? So for instance, a portion of that is taking from, you gonna know it. There is only here. If the delay is too intense for me, I want to sing. But there are songs that I adopt for me that work with the improvisation. And as long as I trust it, it continues to give me more. And that's why I say it's very spiritual, which means for me it's very personal. I'll go to the God of my understanding that has many names that I choose to engage with. And it says, you like that? I got more for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I apologize. The delay is so intense that... Okay, thank you. Hang on just a moment.
Sure.
Okay. Can you talk to me, Simber?
Hello, hello.
All right. That is so much better. All righty. Oh my God, the delay was driving me crazy. All right, here we go. There is only here, there is only now. Forget, regret, love and live today. There is only yes, here and only now. Forget, regret, love and live today. Theme from Rent, or at least one of the themes from Rent. I hear so many possibilities. My challenge is selecting only one.
Right.
And I will share this with you. I was just speaking with someone the other day. I was doing an interview. I said, it's like this for me. For those of you who may have seen the film Close Encounters of the First Kind, I don't know if you remember what the theme was. Ba-dee-da-da-da. And you've got, I believe it's Richard Dreyfuss who's engaging with the spaceship and they're both sharing this to the point where now a complete symphony comes. For me, that's what it's like. And again, it's so personal. I don't even edit it. I allow it to come through. But sometimes I said, I got to go to sleep sometimes and a rest. And so that's what I will say about improvisation. As I've shared with you, is being able to take what I have and allowing it to create from itself, if you will. That's what it's like for me when it comes to improvisation. I know there are a lot of theories about it. There are schools. I think of Jamie Ambrose and the plethora of folks who talk on improvisation, and all of those are wonderful. But then there becomes the application. I can go a while, so step in, Simber.
Oh, no, keep going, girlfriend.
I see my sister goes, yes.
Yeah.
Again, I keep going back to the word spiritual because that's what it is for me. And I recognize that there is the whole theory of the 2-5-1, specifically in jazz, and just applying that. One of the things that especially happens in jazz, even in a ballad, is the chord progressions are still moving pretty quickly. And so it's imperative, again, for me, the practitioner or the person coming to the music to have already had a level of engagement that allows me to feel the music coming through without editing. Another thing also is if there's a song that someone is learning and there are lyrics, is to learn the lyrics. Excuse me. And as simple as folks think that is, I don't need to do that. There is something about the message in the lyrics that also speak to the level of improvisation that will come through. I just happened to be on TikTok, and here was this incredible jazz vocalist by the name of Patty Austin, the I think the goddaughter of Quincy Jones. And she's speaking on that. She says she's speaking the lyrics of Someday My Prince Will Come, and then she improvises by scatting. Again, it's about coming to it as a child and being willing to allow it to come through and to guide me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So important to listen to. I've said listen to your harp because it will tell you,
Yeah.
you know, what comes next. And one of the things that I love about playing the harp is that it's every note is right, and every note can go with every other note in a way that's much harder to do on the piano or other instruments, other chromatic instruments. The harp is naturally going to do that. And I also like to say that the harp works so hard for us if we allow that, that you can pluck one string and all the other resonating strings are going to ring out just, you know, with that, and you don't have to play them. You don't even have to know. You just play that and the harp responds to that and it becomes a dance almost.
The harp is the partner. We're in duet with it, whether we're singing alongside it or if we are the playing of it. I think of that bass line is from Miles Davis's All Blues.
Can you turn up the harp just a little bit?
Pardon me?
Can you turn up the harp just a little bit?
She said, could you turn up Paloma a little bit? How's this?
That's better. Could use a little more.
She says a little more.
Yeah, beautiful.
How's that?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Oh yeah, now we can hear you. That's so awesome. If I were there, I'd sing that with you. I know that song.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is. There was a man by the name of Ernest Holmes. He said it's so easy that it's profound. It's profoundly simple, but then there's all this difficulty because folks are going, that's it? But are you willing to apply that it is the question.
Hmm.
Or are we still reducing it down to that's all that is? That's not all that. But then you see folks winning with what's not all that.
Right. That's
So
so true. That's so true. When so I learned improvisation through sound healing, and so I learned chord progressions and the modes is how I learned all of that. And when I learned all that, I felt like I've been given the keys to the kingdom. Because up to that point, I was like, how are these rock and roll guys getting up there and playing concerts for hours with no music in front of them? How are they doing this? And then I learned chord progressions, and I was like, oh, on the one hand, it is simple, but it's creating that container again
a,
for,
a,
you know,
I said in my community, especially if you go to churches and black churches, I speak on that for because I have a affinity, is going to a church where none of the musicians can read, but the relationship with the music is deeply intact. So the minister gets up and he's getting ready to speak and he says, so and so, I need for you to play behind me. You better be ready. You live in a state of readiness, so you might be playing. Oh, where are we? Here we are. Our God is a mighty God. He reigns on heaven and earth. Even being able to do that and maybe not, and being able to do it in every key. It was one of the beauties to one of the things that Jamie Ambrose would say about improvisation. Can you play every song? Play that one song in every key.
hmm
And Jamie, there are two people. Jamie, who I haven't had a chance to meet, would use Twinkle Twinkle. A young man that became an ancestor last year in April, Charnette Moffett, a fierce jazz bassist. I remember seeing him at a club here teaching a quick master class before he had to go on at a club here called Yoshi's. He used Twinkle Twinkle. And he put in a seventh.
mm mm
He taught that to some teenagers whose hearts and minds were open. They ran with that for months.
mm
But how many of us, with our adult and all of our teaching and schoolness, will be willing to submit to that and then seek all of the other possibilities within it? For me, that's a part of the conversation of improvisation. Because sometimes we're not active practitioners because we're trying to be so quick to dissect what it isn't, as
hmm
opposed to playing what it is.
hmm
I
hmm
go back to churches. For many of my folks who are in churches and are applying the jazz conversation to music there because the pastor said, get up, I need for you to play behind me. As I shared, many of those musicians don't quote unquote read music, but they feel music. And the
hmm
power of improvisation is speaking through them with a quickness, and they're in complete submission to it.
hmm hmm So
Thank
you're
you,
talking about,
Doris. And
yeah.
thank you, Robin. I apologize because you've got this beautiful name and I don't want to booger it up. So I'm going to go for Robin with a quickness because you're going to show me and tell me how to pronounce it correctly.
So, right, we'll ask her at the end to come on and give us a pronunciation of her name. So what I've been working with lately is a book you may know, The Artist's Way, by
Mm,
Julia Cameron.
mm,
And she talks about the difference between the constructive view of art versus the deconstructive view of art.
Mm,
And that scholarly, the whole point of scholarly analysis is to take things apart
mm,
and look at all the pieces.
mm,
And we can get trapped in that if we've had education. Which, and like, oh, I've got to take this improv apart and then somehow try to glue it back together. And because I don't have a degree in music, I learned later on in life. I learned to put things together and then learned how to take things apart.
mm,
And that's what I try to teach in my classes is just skip over the deconstruction part, go straight to making music and playing
mm.
music. And we call it playing music for a reason.
That's why people are jealous of us.
That's right. We
How
play
do
for a
you get to
living.
play all the time? You need to get a real job. Never. Not.
I have a real job, thank you.
Hello.
I have
My real
work.
job is bringing joy to the planet. What is yours?
That's right.
Like you, I have spent my 31 years as a musician on the University of the Bandstand.
Mm,
And so all of those years at the farmer's market, I literally could have played at farmer's markets every day and often did for tips. And those years on the and at the farmers markets, playing behind other people, playing for funerals, playing for weddings. Sometime improv had to come up quick at a wedding if the wedding was delayed for some reason. One time I played at a wedding. I live in Oakland, but I had a wedding in a little town called Martinez, not too far from it's about an hour from where we live. And I'm playing that 30 minutes of incidental music and getting ready to go into the wedding music, and I'm told, no, you got to play around that music because there's been a problem. What was the problem? The bride thought she had her dress, but what she had was the veil. She had to drive all the way back from Martinez to Oakland to go get her dress.
mm.
So we did improvisation on all of that music ahead of time. But it's in the heat of the moment where that improvisation comes up.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm just improvising on all of that because I needed to make time in
Mhm.
between. So going home, that divorce you act pay piece, I kept it simple, but we kept going to that 6 and down to the 4.
Mhm.
Might add a 7.
Mhm.
And if for whatever reason on your folk harp, which I played for many years, you work that 6 and that 4, and
Mhm.
then create a whole new song. Create a ballad. Trust
Mhm.
the process.
Mhm.
Someone can throw out all kind of ideas, but unless the application and the trust are put into play, it's not happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
I can
Yep.
use 1,000 analogies. I think of The Matrix, the first one, which is my favorite, favorite, favorite movie. And you've got Morpheus sending Neo out there, and he goes, okay, jump off the building.
Mhm.
The trust factor has to kick in But the only way for it to kick in, I'm so grateful for all of those years at the farmers market, because that's when the trust started to kick in. Because as I shared, I would be doing 4 hours at farmers markets like it was my job.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah, and it's one of the things that I talk about in my classes is set a timer for a ridiculously long amount of time, something that feels just unachievable, and sit down and play and keep playing and keep okay, play the same thing over and over again until you get bored with that, and then you are going to bust through that wall into something new. You will.
You're playing that you're playing Twinkle Twinkle or Take Me Out to the Ball Game over and over again, because that was the first song I heard on harp. And you're playing it, and all of a sudden your finger hits a note that's quote unquote wrong, but run with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Run with that one.
Mm-hmm. That's how new songs get written all the time. All the time. You're like, that's not a wrong note, that's a new idea.
That's not a wrong note. It's a new idea
Mm-hmm.
waiting
Mm-hmm.
to be born.
That's right. That's right. So tell us a little bit about you've got some shows coming up.
Yeah. So I am phenomenally blessed. One just transferred itself that I was supposed to do a live stream similar to this tomorrow. I want to say it's probably moved to March, but this coming Friday, there is a high rise in San Francisco that has literally a built-in community with its own 200-seat theater. And then at the top level, they have what they call, it's called the Belvedere Room, but it's really a very expansive upscale living room. So my trio and I will be playing there for Black History Month and for this community of tech heads and families.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be at a place called Chorus SF in San Francisco, downtown San Francisco. And I can always send you the link, and if you all want to come, the seating is limited, so you got to hop on it the right way.
Yeah, do send this link over. Well,
I will
I'll post that
send
in
you
the
the
group.
link.
Yeah.
And then I'll be in preparation for I would I've been the Black History Month artist in residence for the Healdsburg Jazz Festival. And so last week, for an entire week, I was in the schools doing a Black History Month presentation on harp. Now they've asked me to come back to their Raven Theater, do a matinee for the children with my trio, and that will be on Saturday, the 25th of February. However, the day before that, on the 24th, I will be playing behind a beautiful soprano by the name of Janine Anderson, and we're going to do a series of Negro spirituals. I have a 20-minute showcase with her, Negro spirituals, and probably one European classical piece that she'll be singing to, and I'll be playing behind her on that. And that's going to be the Friday, the 24th of February at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco. I can send links for that as well. Then I'll be at Yoshi's on the 28th, which is also my wonderful husband's birthday on the 28th. And that is just such a cool jazz club in San Francisco. Oh, excuse me. You're right. That's right. The San Francisco in Oakland, and I can send links for that as well. And I'll be on set with a jazz master by the name of Azar Lawrence, who played with the heavyweights. He played with McCoy Tyner, and I think he got a chance to touch the hem of John Coltrane. And so I'm going to be blessed to play with him as a special guest on his show, and that'll be on the 28th of February at Yoshi's. And then on the 10th of March, I'm going to be doing a tribute to Alice Coltrane and Dorothy Ashby.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh,
Hey,
girlfriend.
baby.
Yeah.
Right? 2 snaps in a circle.
I tell you.
So I'll be doing that at SFJAZZ in San Francisco on Friday, March the 10th. And I was just told that show, right? Isn't that wonderful, Sarah? Girl, that is so cool. I'm trying not to run around my harp. So I'll be doing it. I know, right? Can't stand it. Yes, I can. And that'll be on March the 10th. And I believe it's going to be live streamed. So I'm really trying to get folks, if you can't be there in person, you got to tune in.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. And I have a special guest with me on that show. This brother that had been who's been touring with Public Enemy and a couple of other hip hop artists. He's gonna come in and he's gonna spit some rhymes on the mic with
Mm.
us a little bit on that date. So that's, I know I got a lot going on, but I'm not turning these blessings down, Lord. I'm not turning out a one. I just need to have a meal and some sleep in between.
And we are so lucky to catch you before all of that got going, too.
I am so lucky to have you give me the call to just share my experience in the world of improvisation.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be able to give you this opportunity to tell everybody about what you've got coming up, because and that, do you have more shows after that in
Yeah,
March?
we
Yeah.
get into. I literally, while we were coming back from Healdsburg, I've been asked another commissioning to write a composition for string quartet and flute. Of course, you know it's going to be all about the jazz and improvisation, right? I'm leaving a
Hmm.
whole lot of room because I want to hear what those voices have to say. And I know folks are a little nervous, but you don't have to be. Just, but I do invite you to engage with the source so that you can have that beautiful conversation coming through you.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh gosh, that's so wonderful. Well, I'm so thrilled that you're going to live stream the Dorothy Ashby and
Oh my
Alice
gosh,
Coltrane. That
so
we'll
good.
put that on the Facebook page. If we
Thank
can figure
you.
out how to live stream it onto the Facebook page, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you all have any questions for me? I love all the high fives and the hearts and the love I'm giving, but if you got some questions, I'm more than happy to share really again my experience with this world of improvisation. And I'll just add this. For any of you all who came from extremely modest means, the improvisation was already, that seed was there. When I was a youngster growing up in Compton, I shared we went from Okinawa, Japan to Compton. We went from having a whole lot of something to nothing. One of the ways that I saw improvisation is my mother needed to feed three little girls. I'm the oldest of three. And the monies were almost non-existent. But my mom went to the country farms market that was part of the a chain of markets in Compton at the time in the 70s. And she bought a box of grits and a can of Snow's clam chowder. I don't even know if Snow's is available now. And my mother cooked that grits down old Louisiana girl style and poured that clam chowder over them hot grits. Lord have mercy. You talk about good.
Hmm.
I fast forward in time and we were at some very posh upscale restaurant and they called it polenta. I said, I know what that is. It's still good, but y'all is charging a big dollar for what my mama used to make for $2. But I can't be mad. And so I share that with you is that if you can look in your life where the resources were there, you didn't have nothing. I'm just going to make it plain. And you had to take what you had. To me, that is one of the early stages of improvisation.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
invite you to borrow from that.
Yeah. Well, you're telling my story. I grew up very poor. We'll just say it straight. There wasn't a lot to go around, and we had to make do with what we had. We had to make fun with what we had. My parents were musicians. They were singers, and what they gave us was a musical background. And I happened to live in a town where they did daily musical education in public schools. So not just me, but all my friends got a daily musical education. And I had the same teacher from kindergarten through eighth grade. So I had that continuity, and he was very good. I found out much later. He was very, because you don't know, you're in kindergarten, but later I found out that he had given us an extraordinary musical education, and that was the beginning of improvisation for me as well. You know, the life experience of having to make do and mixed together with this extraordinary man, Mr. Ferris, Phil Ferris, off in Florida. Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Um, and I have had the chance to connect with him as an adult and to thank him and send him some of my CDs. And he was
Absolutely.
just, and thank your teachers. If they're still alive, you know, and you're connected with them in some way, it's so important for them to know they've made this impact in your life. It's a wonderful thing.
It's important. It's
So
very important.
we have about 10 minutes left, and
Okay.
I would love to ask you to, well, first of all, do you have any classes that you're teaching that are coming up?
I don't have any classes coming up in this breath that could change. I'm telling you, the blessings are abundant. And so I don't have any classes. What I would share with you is that I teach from my experience. If someone wants to reach out to me for lessons or jegnaship, my sister Robin knows about the jegnaship. Please, somebody says, teach some classes. Sarah, I already love you. Uh, I like I said, I teach from experience, and if y'all are willing to do that, and sometimes the session may have to change based on who and what you are. But I would love to, and I love that these are folks who already, one, have their own harps, hello, and two, have already been playing and the hearts and the minds are open. I would love to. Just reach out to me. My mobile number is 510 219 8341 510 219 8341. And if you want to reach out to me and text me and just say, hey, you want some one-on-one, I have some moments and I'm willing to share what I know with you, and your donations are very helpful. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's not get it twisted. And I'm on my website is destinymuhammed.net, DESTINYMUHAMMAD.net. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. TikTok is fun, but it's you think Facebook is a rabbit hole. TikTok.
Go go down that
Mm.
rabbit hole.
Ooh, for me, because I'm subscribing, it just as you know, I'm all about inspiration. So I've subscribed to all the inspirational stuff, and I just keep getting juiced more and more and more. I was like, I got to come off. Sometimes you got to apply what you learned.
Hmm.
Questions? I know somebody said, teach a class. Okay.
Well, we can maybe put something together, collaborate and put together a class and
I
get it
love
out to my
that.
people.
I
Yeah.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that possibility. Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
really just helping you all with the tools that you already have. I think many of us, I'll say this better, probably many of my contemporaries have had a lot of beautiful technique and school training. Oh, that is so powerful. And now we're going to break all of those rules. We're going to go to Charlie Parker School of just having fun.
Hmm. Do you have one tool that you could share with us right now?
Okay. For me, when I'm asked to write a song or I'm commissioned to write something, the tool for me is I trust whatever notes come up. I don't say, well, why those notes or why that key? I trust whatever comes up. So I'll give you an example. About almost 10 years ago, I was asked to write music for a play called Classic Black, The Stories of African Americans in 19th Century San Francisco. And this particular group of African Americans were pre-Civil War, still during the enslavement time, but there were 3 of them that had become millionaires in San Francisco. The story don't get told, that's why I'm telling you now. So one of the persons was a man by the name of George Washington Dennis. And so I was like, well, what is it? George Washington Dennis became wealthy because he was a horse whisperer. And so the 3 notes that came up for me were this. I said, well, Lord, why is it that? He said, you better run with them 3 notes. So it became. was this is I'm sharing. You asked me three what to share with you is trusting that the three notes will turn into the full on song. But if you're unwilling to work with those three notes, then you don't get nothing else. Or if you do, it's going to be a while. So it came out. I'm going G, F sharp, E. I was like, okay, I figured that much out. Well, what was the downbeat for my left hand was A. So it's kind of in an A major, but really the root is D major. The song came out like this. I have it online. It's called Festival because I let someone talk me into changing it into Festival, but the real name of that is called G-Dub's Livery. And so that's what I will share. If I can share something with you, is to trust whatever tone. Sarah, you said that you sing. Thank you. You said that you sing. I believe that Simber was just sharing that you sing. And I don't know if you're singing your own compositions. Oh, yes. Oh, what is your question, Sarah? Can she come? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do sing. However, my one love in life as far as music goes has always and forever been the harp. I just think, like, I played piano before and I started taking harp lessons and I was like, no, this is way better. This is so cool. But I just really wanted to thank you. Like, everything that you said was just so cool. And I'm kind of at a point in my life too where I'm feeling really spiritual. So I really enjoyed the fact that you said that, like, you just kind of trust in whatever comes up. And so there's a jazz pianist that I love, and her name is Hiromi Yuhara.
Oh, yes.
And actually, I named my dog after her. But she does a jazz improvisation on Pachelbel's canon, and she's insane. Like, she somehow, like, when you watch Hiromi play, she literally will just slam on the piano keys like random, like, clusters of chords or clusters of notes, and it fits into whatever she's playing. I'm like, she do that? And so it's just funny
because she is surrendered.
And she looks like she's having a blast.
She's having a blast. She has, and this is the thing. Sometimes when we're tied to the charts or the score, if we're not having a relationship with, then we're just tied to that. I just saw someone say that sometimes they forget what they improvised on. Do you record yourself? Let me tell you, the cell phone is the best thing that happened, especially. And I like to record what I've done and listen to what I've done. How about that, Minnie? Simber just gave a beautiful lesson. How about you set your timer for 5 to 10 minutes and just improvise and then listen back to what came through?
Like, one thing that I wanted to ask you though, and I came from a very classical background. Like, you play the black dots on the page, and if you do not play the black dots on the page, then you messed up and you go back and you learn the right black dots. But I was wondering too, like, from like a more of an analysis kind of background, are there certain modes that you really love? Are there, like, do you like the jazz scales? Like, I just wrote a really small piece for one of my students, and it was just minor 7 chords because I just I love how they sound. So it was just like a little bit of like a swung rhythm, and then you just play different jazz chords, or the minor 7 chords going down. So I'm just curious, like, if there's like a mode that you love, or if there's a particular scale you love, or even like some sort of chord structure that you're like, I love playing that.
You know, I can't honestly say that I have one that I love over the other. As I shared, I came to being a musician so much older. Excuse me. Sorry, Dr. John Coltrane kind of come through. So much older than my contemporaries that I am a 31-year-old musician. I'm in love with all of it because I'm so grateful I was so grateful that the opportunity came. Before I did this, I was a barber, and I loved being a barber, but I always knew there was something else I was supposed to do. So when you ask me, is there one that I love over the other? Sometimes I had to grab myself because I love improvisation so much, but I encourage myself to play with local orchestras so I can also embody that conversation, that literature, and to expand what I'm doing to even go back in time to a time where jazz and European classical music were merged and they were called third stream.
Mm.
And so I love being able to move and cross pollinate with both of those conversations of music, not determining that one is better than the other, but how do I get a chance to embody both, to expand all of who I am while I'm on this planet.
You know, it reminds me of like Gershwin, and I think like I grew up like playing in orchestras and stuff, and then I got to hear Rhapsody in Blue for the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing I have ever heard, and that's like kind of blending the two worlds.
Gershwin was listening to a man by the name of William Grant Stills, and they just went on from there. William wrote, a matter of fact, William Grant Stills, and I saw you there. Hang on, I want to say, was it Nell? Nell was asking about chord progressions. I'm going to get to you in just a moment. William Grant Stills wrote a composition for harp called Inanga.
First lesson, things clicked for me. Around many things clicked for me while you were speaking. It feels like a new chapter in my life is beginning. Glad I took the plunge. I love this quote by a little comment by Leslie. This absolutely solved my dilemma with the 4 paintings I was working on right now. I'm a returning artist who's just trying to get started again. Most of my shapes were the same size. Now I know what I need to do next. And that's the whole point, you guys. That's the whole idea here, is to help you get unstuck. And this is amazing, right? To watch something for 20 minutes and then, okay, this is what we're going to be doing all week. And I'm going to be giving you a whole bunch of information to do that.
Are you all hearing that too?
Yeah, there we go.
What is happening?
Sorry, somebody unmuted themselves accidentally.
Okay. Nell, you were asking about chord progressions.
Way to tap into that feeling each day and for a way to bring that into my...
How about chord progressions? I see you. Nell's question is, how about chord progressions that you use a lot for improvisation? Depending on what the song is, if I'm playing a jazz standard or a soul jazz and R&B, once again, listening, there are a couple of things for me. I'm either listening to the lyrics and seeing what chord progressions are going to be the best for me from those, or I'm following the chord progressions that are already there. Let's see now. Okay, let's go back to all blues. It's a G7. So you know your G7. So the chord progressions that you can use to improvise on that is that the 5, you can use a 5 on that, or you're going to use a flat 2, which is that E flat that happens in there. I don't know, are you playing both lever as well as pedal? You are. Okay, good. And I love being able to move. So if you're doing a flat 2, or then you can improvise on that flat 2 and then go back to the 5-1. And literally, God bless you. And what I would share again is what Simber said. How about you take, and I'm going back to the school of Jamie Abersol, how about you take an all blues, which is one of those older foundationals. There's a new book on new standards that just came out from Terry Lynn Carrington, But how about you look at the chord progressions and you play within the chord progression just based on what's there? Because then what that does is that gives you a vocabulary to build from. So if you're in that G7, you going 5. This is a 5. It's a minor 5, if you will. Or then it goes to a 5/7 when you make that sharp, that F sharp, and it becomes G major. And then back here, you've got that flat 2, excuse me, that's a flat 6 rather. Back to the 5, and then to the 1. I will tell you, there's a book out called Illusions by Richard Bach. And you remember that book, Illusions? Girl, I read that book for years. But one of the things that the lead character said in that book, he said, it's a little bit of theory and a whole lot of practice. If I don't remember anything else from that book, it's a little bit of theory applied all the time. I think that part right there sometimes gets missed because sometimes folks said, oh, I just need it once and I got it. And then when you don't, you're mad. But it's literally the repetitive process of the theory on an ongoing basis. The chord progressions, you've got the 2-5-1, 2-5, excuse me, yeah, it's in that G7. Or if you did a straight G, you would go A, D, G. So it's 2-5-1. And in any key, here we go to D. 2-5-1-1. Excuse me, 2-5-1. That's in the key of D. And I would invite you to go through a series of 2-5-1s, which is foundational in jazz to help to build your improvisation. And then I'll do it in C. 2, 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 1-1-1-1, 5-5-5-5, 2-2-2-2, 5-5-5-5, 1-1-1-1, 1-1-1-1, 1-1-2-5-1. Many of my predecessors, Mary Lou Williams, Joe Williams, would always encourage us to sing it, even if you weren't, quote unquote, a singer, to sing and play along with yourself to help to build that vocabulary past the epidermal, deep into the cellular, down to marrow. That's what I would share with you, and I pray that that's helpful. But again, I go back to it's a little bit of the theory and then some ongoing practice and application. Yes, Robin, because you're going to share me how to say your name right here.
Greetings. Okay, my name is I'm born Robin, but my priesthood name is Awujola. Awujola.
Awujola. Alafia, mommy.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of thank you. First of all, this is wonderful, powerful, and just been jam-packed full of all types of confirmation for me. It's been a powerful weekend, and so this closes the weekend or expands it. But anyway, there's been parallels in terms of what you've been talking about, what you've been delightfully sharing. And I've been writing notes, and so I'm sounding a little bit scattered. Just to say that I think there are several things to take away, but one thing I'm going to really, as a takeaway, is to trust the process. And then just let it go, let it be.
We gonna talk later because you know what to do. Quit playing.
Ma'am, Ashe.
Don't make me come to LA because you close. Not like my other sisters here.
All right. Any other questions? Because we're
Ashe,
kind
thank
of gone
you.
over we've gone over time, and I want to be respectful of Destiny's time and y'all's time. Some folks have already departed.
You all got my digits. Reach out to me. Simba is talking about a collaboration. Let's talk about how to help you to help yourself in this improvisational world. And I will share with you, like as you probably already know, I'm not the last word. Like you, after 31 years, I'm still learning, and I'm proud to say that.
Amen. Yeah, we all are. The minute we stop learning, we start to calcify. And I prefer to be loose and trying new things as much as I possibly can.
Me too.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much, honey, for coming and sharing with us, and we'll get together and figure out some way to do a workshop for everybody. And I encourage everyone to reach out individually to Destiny as well. I put her, if you need to capture the chat now if you want to catch the quotes, but I also put her phone number and website on the Facebook page attached to this
Absolutely.
recording, so it's there as well. And
Absolutely.
if you can't find it, just contact me and I will get you connected to her.
And thank you so much, Simba. This has been so much. It went by so quickly.
I know.
Gosh,
But I'm just delighted that we could all get together for this. This has been wonderful.
me too.
Yeah.
Nell, you keep up the great work. I see that Sarah signed off. Doris, thank you so much. Awujala Yaya? Yay. Ya Oshun. Oshun Odomio. Abuyo Asen Moloefa.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Beautiful.
all so
Thank you. And
much.
thank you to Chriswell for being in the background and helping us so much. And blessings to everyone. And I'll see you all soon.
Yes, you will.
Take care. Bye.
Peace, peace.